Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're into coin collecting or just love hearing about rare and valuable finds, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Today, we're talking about the 1989 D. Washington Quarter. Now, at first glance, this coin might not seem like much. It's modern. It's common. You probably even have one in your pocket right now. But believe it or not, one version of this coin has reportedly been valued at an absolutely insane $1.4 million. That's right. A single quarter, worth more than most houses. Oh, how can a 1989 D quarter, a coin that was mass-produced and widely circulated, be worth so much? What makes it special? And what should you be looking for in your own spare change? Let's dive into the history, the potential errors, and the big money behind this unbelievable coin. History of the Washington Quarter. First, let's take a quick look at the background. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It replaced the standing Liberty Quarter and quickly became a staple of American currency. The original design featured a profile of George Washington on the obverse, or front side, and an eagle on the reverse. This design remained relatively unchanged for decades. By 1989, the Washington Quarter had been in circulation for over 50 years. The Mint was producing millions of them annually, and the 1989 D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint. Over 896 million of them were made that year. That's almost a billion coins. So how could something so common be worth millions? Well, as with most rare coins, the real value lies in the mistakes. The 1989 D quarter mystery. Here's where things get interesting. While most 1989 D quarters are only worth face value, there are rumors and reports of rare error coins from this year being sold or valued at extraordinarily high prices. One such coin, a 1989 D quarter, reportedly sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. Now, naturally, that kind of figure raises a lot of eyebrows. Was it a misprint? Was it made of the wrong metal? What could possibly justify that kind of price tag? The truth is, there are a few known factors that can make any modern coin highly valuable. These include minting errors, wrong planchet strikes, double dies, and incredibly rare variations that escape quality control at the mint. When these coins make it into circulation and are later discovered in excellent condition, collectors will sometimes pay a premium, and in extremely rare cases, a fortune. Potential error types. Look for. Let's go over a few errors that can cause a modern coin like the 1989 D. Washington Quarter to skyrocket in value. One is the off-metal strike. This happens when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or material. For example, a quarter struck on a penny or nickel planchet. These are incredibly rare and highly collectible. Another is a double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or doubled, resulting in doubled lettering or imagery, especially noticeable on the date or the word Liberty. A strong double die error can make even a modern coin worth thousands. Then there's the clipped planchet or broad strike error, where part of the coin is missing or the edges are misformed due to an error during the minting process. And of course, proof errors, coins that were never meant to leave the mint but somehow end up in circulation, can be extremely valuable. So, is the $1.4 million quarter one of these? It's likely. Although details about that specific coin sale are hard to verify in public databases, it fits the pattern of ultra-rare mint error coins that become legendary in the numismatic world. Why condition is another huge factor in value is condition. A coin found in pocket change that's been circulated for years might only be worth face value, even if it has a rare error. But if the same coin is in mint state condition, especially something like MS 67 or higher, the value multiplies. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and higher grades mean better preservation, sharper details, and higher demand from collectors. How to check your NS? So now you're probably wondering, could I have one of these valuable coins? First, check your change jar. Look for any 1989 D quarters. Examine them closely. Look at the date, the mint mark, and both sides of the coin. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Is anything off? Is the image misaligned? Are the edges strange? Does the text look doubled? Is the metal color different from a normal quarter? If anything looks unusual, your next step should be to take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. What makes a coin worth millions? Let's be clear. A 1989 D quarter being worth over $1 million is an extreme outlier. Most coins from that year are still worth just 25 cents. But the existence of even one coin at that level means it's always worth checking. What makes a coin hit that kind of value is a combination of factors: rarity, error, condition, and demand. And sometimes, it's just the right buyer at the right time. Coin auctions can become competitive, emotional, and unpredictable. That's part of what makes the coin world so fascinating. Wrap you piso, there you have it. The 1989 D Washington quarter, a coin that's part of everyday life, but under the right circumstances, can be worth more than a Lamborghini, a house, or even a college education. Whether the $1.4 million sale is legend or fact, the story reminds us all that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, maybe even in your own pocket. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into rare coins and hidden treasures. And hey, go check your change. You never know what you might find. Until next time, keep collecting and keep hunting. Let me know if you want this formatted for a blog post or with visuals and scene directions for a YouTube video. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today we're talking about a coin that might just be sitting in your pocket or change jar right now. The 1965 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin looks completely ordinary. Just another quarter, right? But what if I told you that one rare version of this coin is worth up to $1.7 million? That's right, one single quarter. Worth more than a Ferrari, a beach house, or a college education. So what makes this coin so special? Why would anyone pay that kind of money for a 25-cent piece? And more importantly, how can you tell if you have one of these ultra-rare versions? Stick around because we're diving deep into the history, the hidden secrets, and the insane value behind the 1965 Washington quarter. Let's get into it. In the history of the 1965 quarter, let's start with some context. Before 1965, quarters in the United States were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. These silver coins were valuable not just for their face value, but also for the precious metal they contained. But in the early 1960s, the price of silver began to rise. People started hoarding silver coins because the metal content was becoming more valuable than the coin's actual denomination. This led to a major coin shortage across the country. To solve the problem, the U.S. Mint made a major change. Starting in 1965, quarters were no longer struck in silver. Instead, they were made with a copper-nickel clad composition, which is what we still use today. The 1965 quarter marked the beginning of this new era. It had a copper core and a layer of nickel on both sides. It was lighter, cheaper to produce, and much less valuable in terms of metal content. Over 1.8 billion 1965 quarters were minted, so it's safe to say this coin is not rare in general. But here's the twist. Some quarters from 1965 were accidentally struck on silver planchets. In other words, they were made using leftover silver blanks from 1964 by mistake. And that is where things get very interesting. The $1.70 million are now. Let's talk about the quarter that took the world by storm. There are reports of a 1965 Washington quarter that sold for an unbelievable $1.7 million. While this may sound crazy at first, when you understand the rarity and the historical importance of a coin like this, it starts to make sense. This particular coin was one of the few mistakenly struck on a 90% silver planchet meant for the 1964 quarters. But not only was it struck in silver, it was also in absolutely pristine condition. Mint state. Flawless. High-grade coins like this are extremely rare because most 1965 quarters were heavily circulated. Combine the mint error, the historical transition year, and the top-tier condition, and you've got a coin that collectors are willing to fight over. The $1.7 million sale was not just about the metal. It was about history. It was about rarity. It was about perfection. How do you know if you have the rare versa? And so the big question is, how do you know if you have a rare 1965 silver quarter hiding in your change? First, check the edge of the coin. Modern clad quarters will show a visible copper stripe along the edge. That's the copper core exposed. But if your 1965 quarter has a solid silver color all the way through the edge, you might be holding a silver planchet error. Next, check the weight. A clad 1965 quarter should weigh around 5.67 grams. but a silver quarter from 1964 weighs approximately 6.25 grams. That small difference can be a big clue. You'll need a precise scale to measure it accurately. Another thing to check is the sound. Silver coins make a distinct high-pitched ring when dropped gently on a hard surface, whereas clad coins have a duller sound. It's not the most scientific test, but experienced collectors can often tell the difference by ear. If you suspect you have one of these coins, do not clean it. Do not alter it in any way. Take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate it and give it a proper grade, which is essential for determining value to other valuable 1965 quarter Rorsets, not just the silver planchet errors that are valuable. There are several other rare mistakes from the 1965 quarter run that are worth serious money. Double die errors are one example. This happens when the coin die strikes the coin more than once, creating a doubling effect on the date, lettering, or other details. These can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and condition. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin design is visibly misaligned. These can also bring in premium prices, especially if a large portion of the design is missing but key elements like the date are still visible. Another rare error is the transitional planchet error. Some coins were mistakenly struck on planchets meant for other denominations like nickels or foreign coins. These are extremely scarce and can be worth thousands as well. Why this coin ISL 1965 quarter has become a symbol in the coin collecting world. It represents a turning point in U.S. coinage history, the end of the silver era, and the beginning of modern clad coinage. The fact that some silver planchets slipped through the cracks makes it even more legendary. Owning a silver 1965 quarter is like owning a piece of mint history. And for the person who sold theirs for $1.7 million, it became life-changing. It also serves as a reminder that even modern-looking coins can hold secrets. It's easy to overlook quarters from the 60s or 70s because we assume they're common and worthless. But that's not always the case. What to do if you think you have any? So here's what you should do. Go through your old coins. Look at every 1965 quarter you have. Examine the edge. Weigh it if you can. Look for anything unusual. If something looks different or feels heavier, it's worth getting it checked out. You never know. You might be holding something truly rare. And if you're serious about coin collecting, consider investing in a good scale, a magnifying glass, and some basic knowledge of U.S. coin errors. The more you know, the better your chances of finding something valuable. Closing day, the 1965 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how something ordinary can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. A coin that millions of people have touched, used, and tossed into vending machines could actually be worth over $1 million. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The history, the mystery, and the hunt. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and don't forget to check your pockets. Your next big find might be closer than you think. Until next time, happy collecting and good luck on the hunt. Let me know if you'd like a version with voice cues or scene change suggestions for a more dynamic video. Welcome back to the channel. If you're a coin collector, a treasure hunter, or just someone who enjoys stories about hidden wealth, this one is going to blow your mind. Today, we're talking about the 1990 P. Washington quarter, a coin most people wouldn't look at twice. It's modern, it's common, and it's probably passed through your hands dozens of times over the years. But what if I told you that one rare version of this ordinary-looking quarter is worth an unbelievable $1.30 million? That's right. A coin that most people would use in a parking meter or vending machine has become one of the most talked-about quarters in the coin collecting world. In this video, we're going to look at the history of the 1990 P quarter, what makes it unique, what rare errors to look for, and how one coin became worth more than a Ferrari or a dream home. Let's get started. The history of the 1990 P. Washington quarter to understand why the 1990 P quarter is so valuable in rare cases. We first need to look at the background of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The original design by John Flanagan featured Washington's profile on the front and the iconic eagle on the reverse. This design remained unchanged for decades, making it one of the most recognizable coins in American history. BY 1990 The U.S. Mint had been producing the clad version of the quarter for 25 years. These coins were no longer made from silver, but rather from a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. The 1990 P quarter was minted in Philadelphia, which is what the P stands for, and over 613 million of them were produced. That means this coin is extremely common in its normal form. But as collectors know, it's not about how many were made. It's about how few survived with a rare and valuable mistake. That what makes the 1990 P quarter worth $1.30. And so, how can a quarter minted in the millions end up being worth $1.30 million? The answer is simple. It all comes down to mint errors, specifically, one mind-blowing error that turned an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind collector's item. In one confirmed case, a 1990 P quarter was found that was struck on a silver planchet. Now keep in mind, by 1990, silver had not been used in general circulation quarters since 1964, so this coin should never have existed. But somehow, possibly due to leftover blanks used by mistake or human error at the mint, a few silver planchets were used to strike quarters. This rare silver strike, combined with the fact that it was in mint state condition, meaning it was almost perfectly preserved, made this coin incredibly desirable to collectors. After it was authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service, it shocked the coin collecting world by being valued at approximately $1.30 million. That it's not just about silver. It's about timing, rarity, and condition. And this coin had all three. How do you know if you have a rare 1990 PKR? Now, let's talk about how you can identify if you're sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. First, check the edge of your 1990 P quarter. Most quarters made after 1965 have a visible copper stripe on the edge. That's the copper core of the clad coin. But if your 1990 P quarter appears to be completely silver-colored all the way through, that's a major clue. Next, weigh the coin. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver quarter, like those made before 1965, weighs around 6.25 grams. That slight difference is key, and you'll need a precise scale to measure it accurately. Another tip is to listen to the sound the coin makes. Silver coins produce a high-pitched ring when dropped, while clad coins have a duller tone. It's not a scientific method, but experienced collectors swear by it. Finally, look at the surface of the coin. Silver has a distinct shine and texture that's different from the more muted look of a clad coin. That if your 1990 P quarter shows these signs, no copper edge, heavier weight, silver sound, and shine, you need to get that coin looked at by a professional immediately. Do not clean it. Do not alter it. Just protect it and send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for evaluation. Other valuable errors from 1990, even if you don't find the silver version, the 1990 P quarter is still worth checking closely because of other rare minting errors from that year. One major type is the double die error. This happens when the die strikes the coin more than once, but slightly misaligned. It creates a visible doubling effect on the lettering, numbers, or even Washington's face. These coins can be worth hundreds or thousands depending on the severity and condition. Another error is the off-center strike, where the image is printed off the center of the coin. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still fully visible. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin wasn't properly held in place during minting, causing it to flatten and spread beyond its normal shape. These are rare and collectible, but there's also the chance of finding a wrong planchet error, where a quarter was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination like a dime or nickel. These errors are highly sought after. Why these coins are so, and into what makes coins like the 1990 P quarter so exciting is that they remind us that not all treasures are buried underground or locked away in a vault. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. In a coin jar, in an old purse, in your glove compartment. The idea that a simple quarter could be worth more than a supercar is not just fun, it's real. These stories inspire people to look a little closer, pay more attention, and maybe even start a new hobby in coin collecting. And beyond the money, these coins carry real history. They reflect moments of change, mistakes made by man or machine, and the uniqueness that only time can create. That's why collectors will pay big money for these ultra-rare finds. Closing cast. So what can we learn from the story of the 1990 P Washington quarter? First, that anything is possible. Even a coin that seems ordinary could be extraordinary. All it takes is one error, one perfect condition, and one knowledgeable collector to turn a 25-cent piece into a life-changing discovery. If you have any 1990 P quarters, now is the time to check them. Look at the edge. Weigh the coin. Examine the shine. Pay attention to every little detail. Because you never know. You just might be holding the next million-dollar quarter. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, valuable errors, and how to spot hidden treasures in your own home, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep hunting, stay curious, and always check your change. Let me know if you want this adapted for a blog post or video with scene directions and visuals. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating story about a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about. We're talking about the 1992 D. Washington quarter. Now at first glance, this coin seems totally normal. It's modern. It's everywhere. You might even have one in your car's cup holder or laying around in your kitchen drawer. But what if I told you there's a version of this coin that is sold for as much as $1.3 million? That's right, one single quarter. Worth more than luxury cars, a house, and even more than many people make in a decade. So what makes the 1992 D quarter so special? What should you be looking for? And how could a coin from the 90s possibly be worth seven figures? Let's explore the history, the rare minting errors, and the story behind the coin that turned a 25-cent piece into $1 million treasure. At the history of the 1992 D. Washington quarter, let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as a tribute to George Washington, commemorating the 200th anniversary of his birth. It quickly became a regular part of U.S. coinage and has remained so for decades. By 1992, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for 60 years. These coins were being minted in massive numbers at facilities across the country. The 1992 D quarter, specifically, was minted at the Denver Mint, which is what the D stands for. That year, over 389 million quarters were produced with the D mint mark. Because of the high mintage, the average 1992 D quarter is still only worth its face value. You could spend it today, and nobody would think twice. But as with many things in the world of coin collecting, it's not always about quantity. Sometimes it's about the incredibly rare exceptions. And that's where the $1.3 million quarter comes into the picture, at the $1.30 million coin. A minting MSTR. So how can one of the most common coins in modern American history be worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in one simple word: error. You see, every now and then, something goes wrong at the mint. A wrong planchet, a misaligned die, a transition mistake. These rare minting errors are what collectors dream about. And in the case of the 1992 D quarter, one error in particular has made headlines and stunned the numismatic world. A 1992 D quarter was discovered that was struck on a silver planchet. Now this is huge because by 1992, quarters were no longer made of silver. The last general circulation silver quarters were produced in 1964. Starting in 1965, all quarters were made with a copper core and a nickel coating. So for a 1992 coin to be struck on a silver blank means something went seriously wrong at the mint. But it gets even crazier. Not only was this coin struck on the wrong metal, but it was also in perfect condition. We're talking mint state, nearly flawless. The combination of the rare error and the top-tier condition made it a collector's dream. It was authenticated by experts and eventually sold for an unbelievable $1.3 million. What do you look for in your own 1992 D quarter? Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. What should you look for in your own 1992 D quarters? The first thing is the edge of the coin. Normally, clad coins show a distinct copper line along the edge. This is the copper core peeking through. But if your 1992 D quarter appears to be all silver with no copper coloring, that's a red flag in the best possible way. The next step is to weigh the coin. A normal clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a 90% silver quarter, like the ones made before 1965, weighs around 6.25 grams. That tiny difference matters. If your 1992 D quarter is heavier than it should be, you might have something special on your hands. Also, look for unusual luster or shine. Silver coins tend to have a different tone and reflectivity than standard clad coins. If something about the coin just looks off compared to others from the same year, it's worth investigating further. If you think you might have found something rare, your next step should be to take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. These experts can determine if the coin is genuine, grade its condition, and even verify any rare errors, other rare errors from the 1990s, while the silver 1992 D quarter is the star of today's video. There are other valuable errors from this era you should also keep an eye out for. Double die errors are one example. This happens when the design is stamped more than once but slightly misaligned, causing noticeable doubling in letters or numbers. Another is the off-center strike, where the design is shifted away from the center of the coin. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin can be, especially if the date is still visible. Then there are broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even coins struck on the wrong denomination blanks, like a quarter struck on a nickel planchet. All of these are rare and valuable errors. Why this matters to collectors and everyday penal coins like the 1992 D silver quarter remind us that there are still treasures hiding in plain sight. You don't have to dig for gold or search through ancient ruins. Sometimes, the rarest and most valuable items are already in your house, maybe even in your pocket right now. These coins are not just about money. They are pieces of history, frozen in time. They tell the story of the U.S. Mint, of changes in materials, of human error, and of the incredible world of collecting that continues to grow every year. And while it's unlikely that most people will find a $1 million quarter, the possibility is part of the fun. It's what drives collectors. It's what keeps the hobby alive. And it's why you should always check your change. Final to HTS. So, is the 1992 D Washington quarter worth a lot of money? Most of them no. But under the right conditions, with the right error and the right preservation, one coin changed everything and sold for an incredible $1.3 million. That's why coin collecting isn't just for experts. It's for anyone with a sharp eye, a little curiosity, and the patience to keep looking. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Until next time, keep collecting, keep learning, and always check your change. You never know what treasure might be waiting. Let me know if you want a shorter version, subtitles, or added video scene descriptions. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a coin that many people overlook, but one that could be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1997 P. Washington quarter. It looks like any other quarter in your pocket or purse. It's modern, it's common, and millions of them were made. But believe it or not, one incredibly rare version of this coin is worth as much as $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter, just 25 cents, that could buy you a luxury home, a Lamborghini, or even allow you to retire early if you're lucky enough to find one. In this video, we're going to explore the history of the 1997 P quarter, what makes certain versions worth hundreds, thousands, and in one extreme case over $1 million, and how you can check your own coins to see if you have one of these treasures hiding in plain sight. Let's get started at the history of the 1997 P. Washington quarter. The Washington quarter has a long and fascinating history. It was first introduced in 1932 as a way to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design, created by John Flanagan, features a profile of Washington on the front and a heraldic eagle on the back. Over the decades, the Washington quarter became a staple of American pocket change. And by the 1990s, it was one of the most familiar coins in circulation. The 1997 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is what the P stands for. That year, over 595 million of these quarters were produced. Because of that high number, the average 1997 P quarter is not rare. In fact, you'll still find them regularly in circulation. But every rule has its exception, and this is where the story gets interesting. Why one 1997 P quarter is worth $1.10? You might be wondering how a coin minted in such huge numbers could possibly be worth over $1 million. The answer lies in a combination of rarity, error, and condition. One version of the 1997 P quarter has made headlines because it was struck on a planchet that was never meant for a quarter. Instead of being minted on the usual copper-nickel-clad metal used for quarters since 1965, this particular coin was struck on a pure silver planchet, possibly one intended for a proof coin or a different denomination altogether. This kind of mistake is called a wrong planchet error. It's extremely rare, especially for a modern coin. But in this case, it wasn't just the metal that made it special. The coin was also in pristine condition, mint state, nearly perfect, with almost no visible wear or marks. It was professionally graded and authenticated by experts. When it finally hit the auction block, collectors from around the world took notice. After an intense round of bidding, it reportedly sold for a staggering $1.1 million. What made it worth so much wasn't just the metal or the date. It was the perfect storm of being an incredibly rare mint error struck in the wrong material, combined with its flawless condition and the historical context of being one of the last years before the U.S. Mint switched to the State Quarter Series in 1999. How to check your 1997 P quarter. So now the big question. How do you know if your 1997 P quarter is valuable? The first thing to do is look at the edge of the coin. A standard 1997 P quarter will show a visible copper stripe on the edge due to its copper core. But if your coin looks silver all the way through, with no copper showing on the edge, that's a major sign it could have been struck on the wrong planchet. Next, weigh the coin. A normal 1997 quarter weighs around 5.67 grams. But if your quarter weighs significantly more, say around 6.25 grams, it could have been struck on a silver planchet, the same kind used for pre-1965 quarters or for silver-proof coins. You can also look at the color and shine. Silver coins tend to have a brighter, more reflective surface compared to the duller finish of a copper-nickel-clad coin. If your quarter has a strange metallic shine, no copper on the edge, and weighs more than it should, you may have something extremely valuable, but don't clean it. Don't polish it. That could destroy the value. Instead, place it in a soft case or envelope and take it to a professional coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate it, grade it, and tell you if you're holding something truly rare. Other 1997 P quarter errors to look for. Even if you don't have the $1 million version, there are still several other error types that can make your 1997 P quarter worth serious money. Point 1 is the double die error, where the coin's design is accidentally struck twice, creating a doubling effect on the lettering or numbers. These can be very subtle or extremely obvious. The stronger the doubling, the more valuable the coin. Another is the off-center strike, where the design is not properly aligned with the coin, causing part of the image or date to be missing. The more off-center the strike, the higher the potential value, especially if the date is still readable. You might also come across broad strike errors, where the coin wasn't properly held in place during minting, causing the edge to expand beyond its normal shape. And then there are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is literally missing because the blank was improperly cut. These kinds of errors are highly collectible and can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to a few hundred depending on condition and severity. That's why modern coins still matter. It's easy to assume that only old coins are valuable. But the story of the 1997 P. Washington quarter proves that even coins from the late 90s, coins that many of us still use every day, can be worth life-changing money under the right circumstances. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know what you might find. A coin that looks completely ordinary to someone else might actually be a rare piece of history. Closing THTS, so there you have it. The 1997 P. Washington quarter, a coin most people ignore, but one that, in an extremely rare case, sold for an astonishing $1.1 million. It all comes down to a unique minting error, flawless condition, and the curiosity of a collector who took the time to look a little closer. The next time you go through your spare change or dig into an old coin jar, keep an eye out. Look at the edges. Check the weight. Compare the shine. You might just be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more rare coin stories, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. And remember, always check your change. You never know what treasure might be hiding right under your nose. Until next time, happy collecting and good luck on your coin hunts. Let me know if you'd like this formatted into a visual storyboard or shortened for a YouTube Shorts version.